Work skills. Achievement.
Thank you all for coming today. As you are all aware, we are here to celebrate 35 years of continuous service by a friend and colleague, James Dawson. He started as an administration officer in 1972 in our accounts department and worked his way up the career ladder over the years, finally becoming vice president in 1989 of the company and managing over 300 employees. As most of you who have been working here long enough will know, it has been a long struggle to become one of the European market leaders in our field. And you may remember in 1982, when we had a huge setback with the plans for a merger with our top rival company falling through. Because of that, we had to make some workers redundant. However, James was lucky enough to keep his job. Yes, those really were the worst few years. However, we managed to get through these difficult times by working hard, and James was a key player in the struggle to get us back on the path to becoming one of the largest computer manufacturing companies in Europe.
Good man.
One of James's biggest strengths has been his immaculate timekeeping and organisational skills. In fact, I have never known him to be without his diary. His negotiation skills and determination led to a tactful action plan to become one of the leading companies in Europe. I will never forget that day in 1987 when we had the final negotiations for the takeover of our rival company. James and his superb presenting and negotiating skills was one of the key factors to our success. The turning point in our company came with the successful takeover. And despite all the obstacles we have faced, the hard work and dedication of all our workers has made our company the success it is today. And I have to say that James, as one of our managers, has always acknowledged the work and contribution made by others. James, you rewarded your best employees with some of the best perks any company has given. Today, we want to acknowledge the hard work and significant contributions which you have made. So, thank you, James, for your loyalty to the company and your hard work. Thank you.
The Airbus. Everything about this aeroplane is enormous. The numbers are truly mind-boggling. Its overall length is 73 metres. That's about as long as the Great Sphinx in Egypt. The giant two-deck fuselage will typically have 550 seats, but has the potential to carry up to 800 passengers. The tail, at 21 metres from the ground, is as high as a 7-storey building. The 845 square metre wing area is big enough to park 70 cars. The A380 can fly a staggering 15,000 kilometres without refuelling, and in order to do that, it needs to carry 310,000 litres of fuel, making the plane's takeoff weight 560 tonnes. Incredibly, though, the A380 will actually be more fuel efficient than other similar-sized jumbo jets. Airbus claim that the plane will burn about 3 litres of fuel per passenger per 100 kilometres, making it as economical to run as a family car. The building of the A380 is a remarkable example of transnational cooperation. The final assembly line is in Toulouse in France, but this is only the end of an impressively complicated process. The construction of each aircraft is the result of collaboration between France, Germany, Britain and Spain. The wings, for example, are built in England and Wales. The main sections of the fuselage are constructed in Hamburg, Germany. Parts for the nose and the tail are in fact made in Spain and only assembled in Germany. Everything is then shipped to France to be put together. The A380 Jigsaw gets even more complicated, however. Although a European venture, few people realise how much of the plane is actually made or designed outside the EU. The wings, for example, were created by designers in Wichita in the United States. Some wing panels, the wheels, and most of the cockpit electronics are also made in America. In fact, in terms of actual cost, almost half the aircraft is made in the USA.
Alcohol abuse.
Thanks for coming along to the studio today, Damien. We're going to talk about alcohol, and more to the point, alcohol abuse, what we've come to know as binge drinking.
Yes, thanks for inviting me, Anne.
We keep hearing about cases of binge drinking in the newspapers, on television, in magazines, and on radio chat shows like this one. But what exactly is binge drinking? What does the term mean? Is there a difference between binge drinking and just plain old getting drunk?
Well, the British Medical Association states that there is no consensus on the definition of binge drinking. In the past, we used the term binge drinking to refer to an extended period of time, a couple of days, for example, when a person would continue to drink alcohol to such an extent that he or she would abandon their usual activities, such as work, or, in the case of younger drinkers, classes. In medical terms, we usually agree that binge drinking refers to the thresholds that we have for holding our drink.
But isn't binge drinking all about drinking lots of alcohol in a short space of time? And don't we usually think of young people when we hear the term used? People who shouldn't really be drinking alcohol in the first place.
Well, you are right about the first point. In common usage, probably because of all the recent media coverage, binge drinking has come to mean a heavy bout of drinking in just one evening, or a similar time span. Another factor is the intention.
The intention?
Yes. The fact that binge drinkers actually set out to get drunk. That's their goal, what they're trying to do. Binge drinkers aren't usually solitary drinkers. They drink in groups, sometimes very large groups, especially in the case of teenagers. And binge drinkers are getting younger and younger, if you believe what you read in the press.
So, let's get this clear. Large groups of kids get together with the sole intention of getting drunk.
In a nutshell, yes.
And is binge drinking a particularly British problem? Surely young people drink in other countries too.
Yes, you're right. Lots of countries have problems with youngsters drinking. But it does seem as though the UK is taking a particular interest in the problem. Let's say that here, in Britain, we see binge drinking as a huge social problem. In other countries, it's perceived as less of a problem.
And should we be worried? Is it a problem?
Well, that depends. I certainly think so, yes. In 2003, the cost of binge drinking was estimated as £20 billion. The figure will have risen considerably since then, I'm sure. In 2005, the government released figures from the Health Service that suggested that 1 million accident and emergency admissions each year are a direct result of alcohol consumption. And the emergency services report that Friday and Saturday nights they can hardly cope with the demand for attention.
So why are the British so notorious when it comes to binge drinking? Are we worse than other European countries?
The culture of drinking in the UK is very different from other countries like France, Spain, or Italy. In most mainland European countries, children grow up seeing alcohol consumed slowly. A drop of wine with a meal. The odd beer on a sunny afternoon. In the UK, we go out to the pubs and, up until recently, the pubs all closed at 11 on the dot. So, what happens? Well, you drink as fast as you can, so that by the time 11 comes around, you aren't left feeling like another drink.
Do you think we are used to seeing people drunk in Britain, or do we still get shocked?
It depends, really. But being drunk isn't socially acceptable in most European countries, whereas in the UK, well, in some social circles, quite the reverse is true.
I'm afraid that's all we have time for, but myself...